What's going on, guys? Obviously, we got a pretty exciting main board tonight, so I'm going to jump right into it. Going to make this as quick and painless as possible. If you have a game that you really want to talk about, throw it in the chat. I will try to read it and try to talk about that specific game. But I will be skipping games because either I don't have any action on it or I just don't think that there's a huge edge at the number to bet it. All right. First game on the board that I'm going to talk about is Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. I think that with Northern Kentucky, this is a team that is going to do a lot better against their own conference. I don't think that they're really in a good position, aside from having a geographical rivalry with this team, to really take Cincinnati by surprise. Cincinnati has definitely played down to their competition. I do think that we are going to see Wes Miller's team playing a little better tonight, but at 7, it's that dangerous spread to take as a favorite. Now, with this Northern Kentucky team, obviously it's a small sample size. I can't get out of my own mind when it comes to being like, is Marquise Ward going to start off like he did against Kent State, or is he going to be able to find some success? Sam Vincent, is he going to find his three-point shot? And Trevon Faulkner, as much as I want to rely on him to take care of the basketball, rebound from the guard spot, and get you a couple steals, I'm just not confident in this Northern Kentucky team at this point. Maybe in conference season I'll have a little bit of a better feeling about them, but it's not one of my favorite games whatsoever. All right. Ohio and Detroit. Now that is an interesting game. I do have a side that I am on in this game, and that's going to be the Ohio side. I think that they can go out on the road, and I think that they can beat this Detroit Mercy team. Now, what does Ohio have to do to succeed? They have to get to the free throw line. They have to shoot the three. And what they've done so far has been quite impressive. Obviously, once again, small sample size. But when we talk about this Ohio team going up against Cleveland State, especially in that second half, they really started to connect, lock down, close out, help defend. And that's what you got to do against Detroit, because we have seen some roster emergence, but even though it's only 2 games, we have everybody in Ohio pretty much playing at the level that they're supposed to. Now, we got multiple three-point shooters, a ton of guys that are very good at the free throw line. Like, for a road small favorite and a 1-bucket spread, this seems like a good value number to get on. So the only thing that you got to worry about with Detroit is what Detroit's supporting cast is going to do. And my one concern is Jaden Stone. Seeing him play like he did against Boston College, keeping them in the lead for a long time and making some of those defensive plays, I just think that if this Detroit Mercy team can do a better job again to the free throw line and limiting some of their turnovers, unforced turnovers, then they can really give Ohio a game. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see some struggles, especially with Antoine Davis. If his three isn't dropping, he's not the type to stop shooting it. And secondly, outside of Jaden Stone, you really need someone else to step up and be that third scoring option. Now, from a matchup perspective, Ohio with Dwight Wilson against anybody in Detroit Mercy's front court is too much to handle. So I think that's the way that Ohio wins this game, tossing it down on the low block and letting DW get to work, because he's the number one option, and at his size and his width, he is just a hard guy to defend without reaching in and getting called for it. All right, this is the next one that I like. Now, listen, Cleveland State has lost a lot, but Cleveland State is not a freaking backdoor honey that you can freaking abuse whenever you want. You got to take her out. You got to buy her dinner. You got to buy her some drinks. Now, what I can count on when it comes to Cleveland State being in a close game and being a small favorite, a small underdog like this, is them not being able to convert on their free throws. Now, if you can't do that right now, especially against teams like Cincinnati, like Ohio, like you weren't able to, that will torpedo you. And while I don't think that Canisius beats them by double digits, Canisius always plays much better at home, much better and when they're playing a fast tempo. And outside of Deontay Johnson, Yahel Hill, I haven't really seen a guy that really puts the fear in my eyes. I will give some respect to Tay Williams because he's playing like 22, 23 minutes. I expect that to rise. He's a very dangerous scorer, but with no three-point range. So if you bring that help defense when he crashes the paint, you can really either force him into an offensive foul or take the ball away from him completely or force him to put up a bad shot. I think that this Cleveland State team may surprise us at better numbers when they're a 12 or 11 or even as low as a 7. But in a pick'em game on the road against a Canisius team that has already beaten my Bonnies at home, I got to put some respect behind that goddamn name. And when you look at Jameer Moultrie, who's on his 4th or 5th school by now, I think that he's a big factor. His three-point shooting, already 7 makes on the season. And there's a lot of three-point shooting going on with this Canisius team. They are going to put at least 25 to 30 three-point attempts up again, in my opinion. And when you got a Xavier Long, Jaco Fritz, Jordan Henderson, with all that experience, continuity, and chemistry, I'm going with fucking the Bonnies' rival. I'm going with those dirty Buffalo bastards. Go Canisius. So liking that spot tonight. Now, this is a real interesting game in East Carolina and Hampton because Hampton, on paper, at least in my opinion, should be a little better than they are, but they just have shown no ability to hit shots, no consistency, no need to just have an efficient offense running. And when it comes to defense, Dejor Dickens should be a good rim protector, and Jordan Nesbitt with his length and Russell Dean with his size of the point, you think that it would translate defensively, but I don't think it's going to, and I don't think it's going to in this game. Now, you're going up against an ECU team that made a miraculous comeback. I banged the fuck out of that live money line on East Carolina. It literally brought me out of the red and into the black. It was beautiful. I do not think you're going to get ECU taking this Hampton team lightly. Now, from Hampton's perspective, they need to do a better job shooting the threes. Amir Nesbitt and Daniel Bannister are the guys that I think can provide that supplementary scoring off the bench to a guy like Marquise Goodwin. But if you're not going to get Nesbitt and Raymond Bethea being able to produce and earn those starter minutes, that is going to be to East Carolina's benefit and hopefully to our bankroll's benefit. I think East Carolina comes out like a bullet out of a gun and goes and takes care of business wire to wire. Now, we have been really impressed with how this team has come back in the second half. So I am a little hesitant to tell you put your money on ECU first half. But this is an ECU team that, even though Brandon Johnson sat out with a stomach I guess it was a stomach ache. It's not a stomach injury. They were still able to call on other guys to step up and take care of business. Now, when Javon Small gets hot from 3 and RJ Felton is hitting them on the wing, this team could be viewed as unstoppable versus this caliber of opponent. Now, East Carolina, if they get down, I'm going to hit them on the money line once again. They are not losing on their home floor. I'm taking them full game. I'm taking them first half. And that's about it. So East Carolina all day for me. Eastern Illinois, Ohio State. Now, Eastern Illinois is one shit-ass offensive team, but their team total is 50. It's too low for me. I want to bet that Ohio State doesn't allow them to get past the 50 mark, but I just don't think that it's a high probability play to cash. So I'm not going to. This is an EIU team that can't shoot a 3, doesn't hit even 70% of their free throws, doesn't even hit 60% of their free throws. And when you want to talk about missing layups, try watching their game against Central Michigan. They had opportunity after opportunity, and they couldn't convert. Their field goal percentage from the field was under 25%, and those were on missed layups. They couldn't stop anybody at the rim. Are you telling me that Ohio State is not going to beat them by 30 points tonight? I can't debate it. I can't debate it. I just have to believe it. Ohio State, first off, Love Tanner Holden. Get him some more fucking shots. Have you watched this defense? When you saw them D up on Charleston Southern in the first half, you knew it was over from there. They let them back in. They gave them some easy opportunities in the second half. I do not think Eastern Illinois, if they get those opportunities, can convert. I am impressed with Bryce Sensenbaugh. This is a guy, a freshman, a big guy, long length. He can drill some fucking shots for this team and give you that extra boost to get you over the spread, get you over the team total. I think Ohio State, at least first half, has to be the play here, if not full game. I like what this team has as far as size, length, and versatility. Sean McNeil at the three-point line. Tanner Holden hopefully getting some more shots. Sensabaugh stepping up and emerging. There's just so many good things that are going on with Ohio State right now. I think that this is the prime time to bet on them because I can guarantee once they get into Big Ten season, they go up against a team like Michigan State. That is not going to be most likely the case. So I'm going to roll with some Ohio State plays tonight. Probably first half and team total over. All right, let's talk about Oakland and Toledo. So Oakland got back Jalen Moore, which is a huge thing for them because the less minutes that Rocket Watts is playing, the better Greg Campy's team is going to be. His three-point defense is fucking terrible. The team's is terrible right now. They have to shore that up, and they have to start hitting shots from the perimeter. This team definitely thrives on the drive and kick, and that's what Jalen Moore does great. He loves to get into the paint, he loves to get to the free throw line, and he loves to fucking dish it out to his three-point shooters. Now, against Oklahoma State, it was a bad matchup, a physical, hard-nosed defending team. I don't think that it gets any easier tonight with Toledo going out on the road. I think that this is very similar to the Valpo situation. I think that we're going to see Toledo not have a hangover from the UAB win at the Barstool Invitational and cashing fucking Portnoy some money. I think that they are going to figure out what they're doing at home, get it fucking done, and take care of business once again. I like this Oakland team on paper, but then when I watch them play, I don't like the shot selection. I don't like the efficiency from the three-point line. If they just managed to just go inside and get to the free throw line, they would be a fucking monster. But when you have a guy like Rocket Watts, he's going to put up threes even when he shouldn't, and that is going to kill you and could kill you on the spread. So I'm going to roll with Toledo. I think that Toledo has a big offensive game, but it's right on the threshold of what I'm comfortable taking. I don't want to expect this team to put up 90 points in a game. I just don't think that that's something that we're going to see unless we have another team that wants to run and gun with them. And until I see how they play tonight, I don't know if Oakland is that team. Now, on the Toledo side, I do like this rotation of guards behind Ray J. Dennis with Tyler Cochran, Raheem Moss, and Dante Maddox. Obviously, it's Moss, Cochran, Maddox in the pecking order. And listen, with Raheem Moss, I think that the added competition, 4 minutes, is going to help you get a better production level out of him. This is a very talented guy, and I do think that he will be the number one option before he leaves Toledo, but there are very experienced players ahead of him. So I just think that this Toledo team opened my eyes to what they're capable of doing when they're able to run, when they're able to D up in the half court, and when they're able to win on the glass, which is going to be key tonight. I think that Oakland definitely gets their second chance opportunities, but I'm going to wait as long as I can. I'm going to take Toledo. So I just think it's another 20-point win. All right, Harvard and Northeastern. Let me just check to see if there's anything here. What's going on, C. James? How you doing, bro? Arthur, nice to see you. I'll definitely talk about Marist Lehigh. All right, Harvard Northeastern. This is a game that I don't have anything on. I want to take Harvard, but every time I bet on Harvard game, I end up losing money, so I'm probably laying off of it. Iowa and Seton Hall. I don't have anything on that game. Seton Hall's an under team. Iowa's an over team. Can Iowa go on the road? Probably not. I think that the value would be with Seton Hall, and if I do get on a play, it's going to be Seton Hall. South Dakota State versus Arkansas. I think South Dakota State probably has better value as a first half underdog than a full game underdog, just because they're playing a back-to-back and they are traveling. I think that beating the Bonnies last night and being able to come back from a 7 or 8 point deficit. I can't remember. I think it was 7. I do think that this South Dakota State is figuring out, but I think that the key for them is getting two things: production out of Mayo, which he didn't score his first point till the second half last night, and then getting the ball to William Kyle. William Kyle. I think that this kid is fantastic. Every game that I've watched, all 3 of his so far, he's just been a really efficient down low player. And when you understand how to get down there, go get your freaking points and get into good spots, William Kyle is a guy that you're going to see a ton of. I think that when I looked up his stats, it was somewhere around 70, 72, 73% that his field goal percentage is right now. And when you talk about a team that hits their free throws, you are not going to be able to make a comeback trying to extend games against this South Dakota State team, because they are going to freaking keep that lead, especially with their free throw shooting. When I'm talking about Alex Arians, I'm talking about Matt Dellinger. All these guys can shoot free throws. Charlie Easley is a good free throw shooter. So when we're talking about South Dakota State, the question is going to be, do they have enough in the gas tank? Do they have enough depth? And can they get Arkansas playing a little bit beneath themselves to fucking stay within this game? And that's what you're going to have to decide. I personally think that there's value more so on South Dakota State first half, but I could be totally wrong. We will have to wait and see. Southeast Missouri State and Evansville. I like Evansville in this game. I'm very impressed with what Evansville is doing now. With Southeast Missouri State, you're going to need Chris Harris to snap out of his shooting slump. That's the first thing. And with Evansville, Blaise Beauchamp, he's a guy that you really need to step up. And if you're not getting offensive production for him, you got to give those minutes and put those minutes somewhere else. Now, when I look at this Evansville team, it's a lot of work in progress. I think that with Marvin Coleman, Kenny Strawbridge bring you some very good experience. So that's going to help. But you're going to need Toomey to really post up and give you some of that back to the basket offense. Now, he's a guy that has extended range, and between him and Antoine Smith, they can definitely score down low. I just want to see this. I want to see what this bench can do. I want to see what these reserves can bring as far as second half value. And with Evansville, they were so bad last year. There is only going so low before you start to go back up. And with this roster and with how these guys shoot the three and how they get to the free throw line very convincingly, I do think that Evansville is able to hold home court tonight and validate them being a 2-point favorite. So I agree with the line move. I do think that Evansville wins the game tonight. And if Chris Harris doesn't hit threes, it just makes it that much more difficult. This is not like going up against South Florida, who they beat on opening night. This is an Evansville team that can score. So I just be aware of that. Ooh, this is probably one of my favorite games. Southern Indiana and Notre Dame. Guess what I'm fucking doing? I'm taking the over and I'm betting against Notre Dame. I am very impressed with Southern Indiana. I'm very impressed with all the new additions to Division I, and I think that this one is definitely one to be aware of. Now, with Southern Indiana, they are a very good, competent, ball-moving, side-to-side team. They definitely are going to have their share of turnovers because they do try to get a little cute sometimes, but they're very effective at getting good shots, open shots, and connecting on those. Now, what I like most about them is that they are not afraid to go inside where the trees are and force the refs to blow their whistle. That whistle's already in their mouth. The refs are ready to blow it. Now, this is a team that's going to make them do so. And if they can do that tonight, then they'll be able to hang around like they did against Missouri. Now, from an offensive perspective, they have to hit threes. This is a very good three-point shooting team, competent at the free throw line, even better chasing you off the three-point line. That's what they're going to have to do tonight. I think that they're up for the task. I like Jelani Simmons and Trevor Lakes. I like Isaiah Swoop. These are the three guys that have to score from the perimeter and have to get to the free throw line a ton to be able to stay in this game and keep it competitive. I will not back Notre Dame as a 15-point favorite. I wouldn't even put it past Southern Indiana to win this game outright. So they are looking to surprise Division I. They've already done it a couple times. Let's see if they can do it a third, and let's go 3-0 ATS on them. Ball State and Nebraska Omaha. Now, Ball State is definitely a candidate for a team total tonight. I think that they can score 73 points, especially with how fast that they want to play. And keep in mind, against Indiana State, Luke Bumblow and Jalen Wyndham took 2 combined three-point attempts. That is not something you're going to see from Ball State every game. I do think that those boys come out with their cocks out tonight, ready to rock and roll. Let's get Jerron Coleman as many opportunities as he needs to shoot the basketball, because ever since that he came back to Ball State, it's really invigorated me about betting on this team, because him and Peyton Sparks, that is a serious 1-2 combination. And if we get the young guys being able to shoot some threes and get permission to put up those threes in the first place, I do think that we're going to have a very good time betting on Ball State. Now, 5 points is something that I'm not very happy about. I do wish that I got in on the opener, but even though Omaha looked fantastic against Idaho, that is definitely a different level of competition towards Ball State. I have Ball State power ranked over 100 spots higher. So I think that Ball State, first off, needs to block up on the three-point line, where we know that Omaha is going to want to put them up. It's just a matter, are they going to hit them? Keep them off the free throw line and force them to make some turnovers. You know, they're going to take away your offensive rebounding opportunities, or attempt to, but you can beat them from the three-point line, and that's why Ball State is just, it looks like a route spot. You know, if this game starts at 8:30, if my 7 o'clock and early spots look good, I will definitely be looking at hitting Ball State on the alt spread, because let's not forget about the alt spread. It's still there. All right, let me just have a quick peek in here. Yeah, I'm on the other side, C. James, with Detroit Mercy. The opener was 3, and now it's at 5 or 5.5. So the next game, Bakersfield and Idaho, I don't want to bet. It completely flipped lines, and I'm not even sure that should be the case. Missouri State and BYU, I'd be interested in taking Missouri State on the road as a dog. This BYU team just doesn't have the three-point shooting that Alex Barcelo had and gave them last year, and they have not replaced it. I will say this, though, with Traore and Spencer Johnson, you know, you do have a very good inside-out combo for BYU. I think they win the game. I just am not in love with taking them as a double-digit favorite. Gonzaga and Texas, I'm on the Zags. It's hard for me because I like, obviously, both teams have had Canadians, have had very good Canadians, had Canadians that go to the NBA. It's hard for me to like either side, but I like the dog there. And as far as the total, if you were to give me a free play, I'd take the under, but I didn't really have anything on it except tailing someone else on it. So that was pretty much it. San Fran and Fresno, I got nothing on. Michigan and Pittsburgh, I am very weary of taking Michigan as an 8.5-point favorite, but I have to try and like get the shit that I saw out of my head from them last time. But Eastern Michigan really exposed them. Pittsburgh may be getting John Hugley back. Blake Hinson and Jamarius Burton have done a fantastic job of carrying the load for Pitt. And with all that senior upperclassmen with like Greg Elliott and Nelly Cummings, you know, it's a tough Pittsburgh team to go up against on a neutral court. So I would lean towards Pitt. And with VCU and Arizona State, I like VCU before they were a 4.5-point favorite. I'm just not going to freaking give any respect to these Pac-12 teams. Just like the ACC, they're losing outright, and I think that this is a game VCU can win by margin if Ace Baldwin runs a good offense, if Jaden Nunn takes good freaking shots, and this team goes hard to the bucket and wreaks havoc on the defensive end. I like VCU when they're not playing teams like Fordham or even St. Bonaventure or Richmond. I like them in this matchup versus Arizona State. No Marcus Bagley. That's nothing new. You still have the Cambridge brothers. You still have Frankie Collins. It's not going to be a walk in the park and a fucking lay down and take it, It's not going to be starfish sex. VCU is going to have to work for their money and work for ours too. UMass Lowell, I'm not really into taking them as a 13-point favorite. I don't really think it makes sense. In a high-scoring game, Sacred Heart's going to be able to keep it close. I view it through a similar lens as when Sacred Heart just played Columbia, And also for Sacred Heart, Aiden Carpenter and Brendan McGuire may not be playing. So that could also point you towards UMass Lowell. But the line opened up at 13, went to 12.5, went back to 13. It's just been bouncing back and forth. And that's pretty much because of the injury info. And because it's a fucking standalone game that starts in 3 minutes. Okay. Any other games I want to talk about? Only other game I want to talk about is Marist and Lehigh, and then I'm going to cut it out. Listen, I am very impressed with this Marist team, with Cam Ferris, with Patrick Gardner. These guys are definitely elevating Marist's offense. The question is going to be, is Lehigh going to allow them to play at a pace that gets them over this 139 or 139.5? I personally think so. I think that Marist is going to be able to hit a bunch of threes early. And I think that with Patrick Gardner and his ability to go down low and score from all three levels, it's something that we haven't seen really with any Marist big man, and I don't even know how long. This is a game-changing type player. And even though they lost to Binghamton, I still think today they have some value as a dog. And I still think that they're going to score some points. So their team total is interesting. And the full game over is interesting. Now, you have a very good 1-2 combo with Patrick Gardner and Stephen Ingo, my fellow Canadian. Then you have a nice 1-2 combo in the backcourt with Cam Ferris and Noah Harris. And then you have a whole bunch of guys like Anthony Cooper and Jaden Daughtry who can give you some offense inside the arc, can get to the free throw line and convert. And when you're a team like Marist, who I'm used to being a 64, 65% free throw shooting team and are hitting over 74%, well, I recognize that shit. I like that shit. It makes me want to bet on that shit. So I like Marist a lot in this game, and they could be an outright winner as well. So that's about it for me. I'm going to end off now. We've got 2 minutes to spare. And I think that with UMass Lowell, just once again, without Sacred Heart's better transfers being able to play today, I'm just not sure it's the best spot. I think that UMass Lowell, if they play a low-down defensive game, then they could freaking shut them down. I'm just worried. I'm on Sacred Heart, so I'll be cheering for Sacred Heart, and that's what my money's on. So I'm having a little bit of freaking buyer's remorse now that I know the lineup situation. So that's the only hurting part. So no McGuire, no Carpenter. That definitely hurts. All right, well, let's hope that everything works out fine in this game. And if Sacred Heart's going to lose, they lose by fucking 12 points. Yeah, I'm not talking about Florida Gulf Coast. I don't like that game. Toledo team total over. It's right at my threshold number. It only has about a point of value based off my line. So I'm not telling you to get on that yet. I think that the spread has more value. I'm trying to be, but without Aiden Carpenter, a guy who can freaking score in bunches in 16 minutes of playing time, that's a big loss. So Sacred Heart's going to have to really do a better job converting and a better job of not allowing UMass Lowell to slow them down. Like what we saw in the Columbia game was the pace and tempo that Sacred Heart plays best at. When Mike Sixsmith can be very creative with the basketball, when Nico Collette can go coast to coast and get to the rim and get to the free throw line. Like, that's the kind of shit that we need. So, whatever. The game's starting now. I want to go watch it, and that's it for me. Appreciate you guys spending the half an hour with me, and I'll